3, 2, 1, go.
All right. I guess I don't know if we have to what we do, but this they told us to just start talking, right? So
yeah, we just kind of get started. Okay, so introductions. I'm Ty Carlson, sci-fi author. I've been writing for almost 5 years now, professionally, I guess, with a day job, and I love it.
Wait, did you say you do it like this is all you do is right?
No,
Oh.
I have a day job and I write.
Okay.
But professionally, like published now, 5 years.
Yeah. Okay, I got you. Because I was like, dude, that's impressive. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be great if I could leave my day job and do this all day long, type thing. But
that's the dream.
But yeah, I guess I'll go next, right? Unless there's anyone else. I'm Joe Asphahani. I'm also a sci-fi fantasy writer. I don't even remember. Like 2017, I think, is when I got published the first time. But yeah, I have 3 books, 2 books in a series. The third one's due out soon, and then I have a standalone book.
Nice.
But yeah.
Awesome, dude.
I moved, like you. I do have a job also during the day. I'm a high school teacher, so.
Oh, awesome. Do you teach English?
I do. So, I mean, I taught only English in Chicago public schools for 7 years. And then when I moved out here to the suburbs, like my family's getting bigger, we had to get more room. As you can see, my wife's shoe collection in the back.
Yeah, I was admiring it. I was like, we have that exact same thing sitting right there.
So. And a sombrero, I guess. But
yeah, sombrero.
Moved out here. I couldn't find a job in the suburbs as an English teacher. So long story short, I just went back to school for special education. And
nice.
I am now a co-teacher, special education co-teacher in an English classroom. So I'm still kind of an English teacher. Like I get to do the old job, but also have these new responsibilities. So, but yeah, what do you do for work?
Awesome. I work for a tech startup in Springdale, Arkansas. I go to the office, not remote work. I live in Fayetteville, so it's just a short drive. And I've been doing that since December 2019, and I didn't go to school for it. I wanted to actually be a teacher and teach literature, and I got my master's in teaching and couldn't find a job, even though growing up in Springdale, you know how it usually is. It's like, who do you know? We were friends with superintendent, teachers, principals, everything, and I just couldn't find a job. So went into like corporate America, hated it.
Yeah.
And landed working at this tech startup in Springdale that a person I used to know kind of fairly well. He started it. I got hired there and kind of worked through some different positions, and I've been there 5.5 years, and I love it. And I'm doing sales, but not selling to people. I'm just like describing our product to potential clients, and love it. I work with like 24 of my friends that I know, and there's not a single person I work with that I wouldn't go to lunch with. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think the old wisdom of like, do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life or whatever is totally true. I was gonna say I worked in the corporate world too. Like Chicago public schools burnt me out real bad. So I was like, man, screw this. I got a job as a content writer for a global logistics company. And for 3 years, I just sat in an office. Honestly, they didn't really have a lot of work for me to do, but I would sit there and write on their website. Like was my job, kind of interview people, edit articles or whatever. It was soulless and boring corporate work that I don't want to go back to.
It was I worked for a vendor for Walmart, and it was like soul sucking, working for the James Bond villain. I hated it.
Like, I don't know if people want to hear about our backgrounds, but I'm going to use this, if I may, as a segue. May I use this as a segue? Let me talk about my book, right?
Yeah.
First, so through 4 Horsemen Publications, I just released this standalone. It's a cyberpunk book. So we're talking about how much corporates suck, right? This is mega corporations, skyscrapers that reach up into the stratosphere type thing, flying cars weaving in between them all, cyber zombies, samurai swords, the hackers with like cables jacked in the back of their head and all that kind of good stuff.
Sick.
Yeah. The White Shadow just came out in March. I'm really proud of it. Oh,
that's awesome.
All right, there she
Dude,
goes.
that's fantastic. So, sci-fi writer,
Yeah.
is that set in the same world that your other book is set in?
No, but so I mean, I could talk about these later. This is my fantasy series, which is it's sci-fi, but it's disguised as fantasy, and
Uh-huh.
it's not set in the same universe. I'll
Okay.
put it for now, but yeah,
Cool.
um,
That's awesome.
yeah. I just want to do. I love cyberpunk. I've loved
Yeah.
cyberpunk ever since I can remember. I like watching Blade Runner as a kid, and then like reading William Gibson as a kid, and like
Yeah.
powering everything. The video games I've grown up playing. I love Terminator, which is like kind of cyberpunk-ish.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to write a book in the cyberpunk genre for so long.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah. What about you? What's the sci-fi you write?
So I've got 6 books finished. 4 are out right now, and they're in the same world.
Wow.
And it's near future-ish. So the first book is called The Bench. And it's one thing that drives me crazy is like I know that's reversed. I'm hoping it's not like on the live.
No, I read it. The Bench, yeah.
Oh, it's
right.
really okay because to me
Yeah,
it's
it's
reversed.
good.
Okay, great. So I wrote that in 2020. Wrote it in 2017, finished in 2018, edited 2019, and published with Four Horsemen 2020. And it's like near future enough that it seems like it could take place today. But there's a uniting event in this world called the Neo-Pagan Wars that happen. And this one is like 50 years after the Neo-Pagan Wars. And then book 2 is 20 years before the Neo-Pagan Wars. Book 3 is 200 years after the Neo-Pagan Wars. And book 4, it's called Convergence of Gods, takes place like a year before the Neo-Pagan Wars. And so it's like the buildup.
That's so time is literally like going like this. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah. So you're like bouncing. You kind of, because realistically, I didn't know what the uniting event was going to be. I mean, you've probably done something like as filler. I put in, I don't know, like we'll just call it Neo-Pagan Wars or whatever, and then I went on with the story, and then I realized as I was writing, like, oh, this is the thing now. So I made that the uniting event that kind of ties all of them together. And there's a couple of Easter eggs in each book that point to the other ones. But the Dadirri Saga, which is the first one here, the first 4 are in the same universe. But then my 5th and 6th books are in a totally separate universe called the Dominus Trilogy. And I'm writing book 3 right now. Books 1 and 2 are with editors. Book 1 actually should be finished pretty soon, but and then when I finish that, I'm going to go back to the Dadirri Saga and write the actual wars, the Neo-Pagan Wars, and I'm kind of excited about that. It's pretty like Dominus Trilogy is true sci-fi space opera, spaceships, aliens, laser guns, but Dadirri is like, what if it's like Black Mirror meets whatever genre you want. First one is Black Mirror meets The Notebook. Second one is Black Mirror meets Parenthood. And I try and make them creepy, but not like scary, bloody, or anything like that. But just like, ooh, technology is like a dangerous frontier.
Dude, I think so. I don't know. That's like a theme I try to weave through. Honestly, even my like fantasy series, like technology scares me. I had a question I wanted to ask that came up in my mind. So it's gonna be a good question, but then like the reason behind it is stupid. So let me like ask the question and then tell you the reason I'm asking the question. But then, like, forgive me for saying it's a stupid reason.
That's great.
Like, why is it called The Bench? And then the stupid reason why is because I'm thinking of like bench, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know this is,
it's the story of a guy trying to reach his PR, his personal record max on the bench press. No,
what?
It is.
Wait a minute, you lost me. No,
it actually stems from this question I saw floating around Facebook like 8 years ago, that if you could sit on a bench with someone living or dead for an hour, who would it be? And I asked my wife what her answer would be to that question. And she said, I think I'd sit with my dad. And her dad died when she was 9. Her parents were divorced when she was real little. And she was like, I'd really like to talk to him again. And so in my head, I started thinking like, okay, if that was a real thing in our world, what would that look like? What would it require for us to be able to talk to someone who was alive or dead? And so then the story and the reasoning and the science kind of behind it, the science fiction behind it, kind of came about. So everybody has a chip in their arm. It records everything they experience, emotion, memories, everything, so that this company, after they die, can take that data and create, which is essentially an AI version of them, and then you can go and talk to them after they passed. So this guy, him and his wife are on vacation. She dies in a tsunami, and he gets an invitation to go talk to her from this company called Innovate Industries. And so it's kind of his story about their relationship, and what he remembers, and it goes through grief and love and just relationships in general, and what you would imagine a husband and wife have experienced together, the goods and the bads, and how you kind of reconcile those post mortem, I guess.
Wow, I want to read this actually.
Yeah, it's
that's the
good.
first book you said, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
My wife wouldn't talk to me for about 2 hours after she finished it, so fair warning, you will be sad.
I mean, like I'm a family man with a wife and kids, so I'm like hearing. See, I think that's what a good story has to do. First of all, you hooked me with the chip in the arm thing because, like, that's pure like cyberpunk sounding, kind of like dystopian future type thing. And then second, like, the human story is honestly the thing that, like, the veneer has to be flashy and cool, but like the story under the surface has to be something that like really touches somebody's humanity. So I'm going to read that about the husband and wife thing. Yeah.
Well, that's been my goal with all of my books is I love sci-fi, but really the value that most people get out of a story isn't like, oh my gosh, that technology was so cool. It's mostly I love that character, or I love their relationship, or that kind of thing. So I really double down on the relational stuff, and that's how all of them are in my series. They're the bench is husband and wife. The favorite, which is the second book, is father son. The third is like a foster care kind of situation between an unwitting foster dad and his charge that he finds, and then the fourth one is 3 stories about like going through trauma with someone, and how you come out on the other side. So I'm glad that comes through, because I really, really worked hard to make the relationship the focal point, and the technology and the sci-fi setting and all that kind of stuff mostly just the flashy paint, I'm
going to be honest. I think I committed kind of a cardinal sin, because even though I just got done and I just heard you what's what I'm looking for, like, concur on the point I made about like it's got to be a human story. When I wrote The White Shadow, I didn't I just wanted to write a badass story with like flying
those work though.
You know what I mean? Like,
those work, yeah.
I know, but I think the thing is like I created a character who then I didn't really know what her voice was or what her purpose was. Yeah. And then that, like, the fact that I didn't know, that actually became who she was. Like, she is aimless and purposeless.
Yeah.
And then the story, like, as I'm writing it, wound up becoming, well, like, that's her internal flaw, is like she needs to find a place where she belongs. Yeah. And so, like, I didn't set out to tell a story about like belonging and finding your place, your home, or like falling in love or whatever. I just wanted flashy like sword strokes and like whatever laser beams and stuff. But over the course, like, honestly, like, I think 2/3 of the way through is when like she starts to get this breakthrough moment. Mm-hmm. So hopefully my readers can stay in that long before they.
That's what makes it so awesome, though, is because that there's so many people out there. Mm-hmm. I mean, shoot, I don't know who I am until I was 25, and even then, still now almost 40. Like, I don't know. Am I really the same person that I was 25? No, absolutely not. Who am I going to be in 10 years? So I think that even that, like, that's a super valuable and I think a really motivating way to get a story across, because we've all been that person that just feels lost in a grander scheme, like, mm-hmm. I'm just a cog in the wheel. Shoot, when we were working our corporate jobs, we were literally just cogs in the wheel. They could replace us at the drop of a hat. So I think finding your place is a really, really powerful story, though. Like, so you're
go
you go ahead, because you'll probably reveal it now anyway.
No, I was gonna like try to talk about the story a little more. Like, her whole thing is that she works for like the syndicate, which these megacorps hire in order to sabotage each other, like never ending cycle of like just the power grabs, and like, and her friends die along the way, but like she's cursed because there's actually a fantasy element in it, because she's like she can't die. When she dies, she goes to like the realm of Yomi, which is like the Japanese folklore, the realm of like ghosts and vengeful spirits and oni and yokai and all this kind of stuff. It's very much like, have you ever heard of the video game Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver?
Yeah. Yes.
Dude,
Yes.
this is Cyberpunk Soul Reaver is how I used to pitch it.
Bro.
But only people like you and me know what that is, because only you and me had a PlayStation 1. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
the young kids don't know what Soul Reaver is.
They don't get it.
But like the world is all twisted, and like, you know how like in Soul Reaver, like everything like
Yes.
bends or whatever.
Yeah.
So she can like walk through walls and all this kind of stuff. So her problem in the beginning of the book is she literally cannot escape her life, like literally cannot escape.
Wow.
And so she finds like on one last job, like her boss swears he's going to let her go, although she has her doubts. She is led to find this like white katana. It's like perfect. It's in a vault. And she's like made to grab it because like the person that sets her up on this job knows what's going to happen. She discovers this spirit of this like megacorp security chief who was like basically a samurai. He was like so like Zen Buddhist and all this kind of stuff. But he's a demon of rage now, and he's trapped inside the sword. And so he wants revenge on the people that killed him and put him in the sword. And she like wants, basically he's the one person that can like kill her.
Yeah.
So as payment for like tracking down his enemies and putting them, like getting his vengeance, she's gonna want out of her life. But then of course along the way, when she finds out she has a place she belongs, she no longer wants that. And but she's like cursed, or is it really just a blessing? Like, I don't know.
Dude, that sounds so sick. That is awesome.
I don't know. I think I did a great job with this book, to be honest with you.
That's good. That's good. That comes through the writing. Like whenever I talk about my books, like I obviously feel like I did well enough to publish them, but like it comes through if you're confident in what you think the story is, if it holds value or not, So like that's you should be proud. That sounds awesome.
There was one thing like I heard on NPR back when I was like first writing, like NPR, This American Life, Glass, whatever. I don't remember. Actually, it might not even have been a This American Life episode, but I'm talking like 2015, before I actually like, I had the idea for my Animal and Man series, but I never like started it. Yeah. And Ira Glass said, you have to trust your taste. Like, what's cool. What's good. Like, you've seen movies, you've read books, you've like read comics, played games, whatever it is. You have to trust in your taste. Like, know that what you want to say, the way is going to be good at its core. The challenge is going to come from like how you say it. Yeah. You have to find a way to hook people and make it engaging. But like at the end of the day, don't doubt yourself and know that what you're writing is cool. And like, that's how I felt. There was so many times when I'm writing this book or the other books, and I'm like, I don't know if anyone's going to read this, or I'm not as good as, this other author whose stuff I read or whatever. Right. But like, I do know what's cool. Yeah. And like, this is going to be cool. And just, I don't know. Yeah.
The stuff, like we write stuff that resonates with us. Yeah. I write stuff that I would want to read. And so I know that there are other people that like the stuff that I read. So they would like my stuff. And so, you see like the TikTok trends and the Instagram trends of like, if you like these books, then you'll like this one. Or if you like this kind of trope, then this has it in there. And I think that you're exactly right. When we write things that we have experienced and enjoyed, it comes through the writing because we find pleasure in that. And we find joy in like the kickassery of whatever story's happening. And I think that is so much fun to read. Especially when it's just, it can be kind of crazy and wild, but if there's ever, have you ever read Critical Failures by Robert Bevan?
No.
It's a D&D. It's super dumb.
Okay. You said D&D. I'm hooked. I'm hooked already.
Yeah. So these guys get trapped in their own D&D campaign as their characters. And I never even played D&D very much, but I started reading this with a buddy, and like, it's so ridiculous and it's so dumb and it's so just like out there, but it's so fun to read because it is so ridiculous. And it's the kind of like nerd stuff that I enjoy anyway. So like, I totally get why I like reading this. So it's so fun to read the stuff that you enjoy, like that's what we go after anyway. Yeah,
man. I mean, I play D&D like I at the school I work at, I'm the D&D like club sponsor. So
Nice.
once a week I get together and I like run a campaign. And
That is amazing.
this summer when I'm not writing, I mean, I'm just going to go gung ho and write more this summer, but I'm going to try to get into a D&D group too. Like I love D&D. So
that is awesome. I'm DMing a Discord group because we live all over the country.
Yeah.
So it's super easy to just like shoot a message off and roll and all that kind of stuff. So that's also an option. It's pretty fun.
My friend keeps trying to get me into it. I don't know. Like I know I have my own reservations I should probably get over. But like, yeah. And it would be a good way to like connect with my friend again. He lives in like Bloomington and stuff. Or no, Peoria, Illinois. And I should just like, get on the call.
Well, and it's like,
I don't know.
You know, it's no pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Just to whatever. Like for my guys, they've been texting all day and I've been in meetings and stuff and I just write whenever I have time as a response. But it's fun. It's pretty cool.
You know, I kind of want to turn to these questions. Like, since we're talking about writing, like that second question, do you find yourself like organized? Like, I don't even know what that question is. They got a question here, you know, that we were set up to kind of talk about.
Mm-hmm.
How organized are you with your writing? I'm not. I'm not at all.
No. So like what's your process? Let's say you have an idea for a book. What do you do next?
I just try to like vomit note taking my idea down and then like file it away and never come back to it. Basically, that's how organized I am.
Yeah, I've got a note on my phone for book ideas, and it's just book ideas.
Yeah,
That's
so I got something like that too. Mine are written down in like various notebooks that I leave laying around. I don't even know where they are.
I write. So I'm assuming you're a pantser compared to a plotter.
Flying by the seat of my pants. What is that?
Yes, there you go. Yeah, okay. Exactly.
Yeah, I wing it. Yeah.
So like you get like for me, I get an idea. I'm like, oh, that would be a cool idea for a book. And I start writing, and I'll write like on that one. I wrote the end first, and then went back to write the beginning, and then I wrote the middle. You know, and then by the end of the book, I was like, okay, this is not the correct order, and so like switching everything up, and then you get the book. And then there are people that are like, okay, chapter 1 is going to be like this, and then they write it, and then chapter 2 is going to be like this, and then they write it. No, not even close.
I mean, like sometimes as I'm writing a chapter, I will suddenly have this like vision of like, wait,
sure,
I know where this is going, and I'll quick take notes on that and just like leave it at the bottom.
Yeah.
But that's about as much plotter as I get to be. Like otherwise it's straight pantser the whole time. And there's currently I'm writing a fourth book, which I know I should get back to my series, but like I there's this book in my soul all summer long last summer, and I'm like, I have to write this. But I don't know how it ends. And so I wouldn't say I have writer's block. Like I would be able to sit down right now and keep going with the chapter I'm going right now.
Sure.
But the ending is hazy. It's like I'm stumbling through a fog. And I honestly don't mind it. Like I'm kind of like letting the book lead me where it wants to go. Yeah. Instead of, they always say though, like the good wisdom is to write with the ending in mind, but I don't do that. Like not for this one anyway.
I don't know. I'm a little hippy dippy when it comes to writing because I feel like I'm just the conduit for the story, and I'll write the story, like you said. The story will tell me where it wants to go, and sometimes I don't have any idea where I'm going until I get there, and then I'm like, oh, this totally makes sense that it would be like this. And if I try to force the story, there are lots of times where I'll write, like a page, 2 pages, or an entire chapter, get to the end of it and be like, this doesn't work. I'm trying to force, like force a what is it, a square peg into a round hole. Yeah, it doesn't work. So I have to just write and let the story kind of flow out. So you'll get there. The ending's at the end. Just write everything else first.
Yeah. And I think like getting back to like book ideas and stuff like that. Last summer I had actually started a book that like was about this. Oh man, I don't even know if I want to tell you the plot. It's like so embarrassing, but it was about like this girl who is almost like inspired by Twilight. Hell, I should just stop there. But the point was, like, I actually got 20,000 words into this book. Hey, by the way, I'm not a Twilight fan. But
that's fine. That's fine. No judgment here whatsoever.
The atmosphere felt sort of like that, but no vampires. And in fact, there was no sci-fi at all. But anyway, like
it was Twilight, but there was no vampires.
I don't know how to describe it. Like it was in Alaska, like whatever. Anyway, okay. Forget I said anything. But the point was, like, okay, even now, pitching it a little bit, like, you can tell it sucks. I got 20,000 words deep into it, and I'm like, I can't write this anymore. This sucks. And I was having a lot of anxiety about politics at the time, understandably, in many different ways. And so I'm like, I started to think about, like, a near future, the year 2040. What happens if, you know, America basically falls from the inside out, like our enemies like conquer us through ourselves, and then we're living in this like authoritarian state. But then what if like inspired by the purge, what if things swing back the other way, and like violently so? And like what would that utopia be if it was like, whether it starts off left or right, I'm not going to say or anything, but like I'm basically writing this near future dystopia, everything is kind of monitored by AI type like story. And every time I was walking my dog, I knew I should be thinking about the freaking Twilight Alaska book. But like, oh, damn it, I'm supposed to be working on this project. You know what I mean? And I would feel guilty because thoughts of like the near future dystopia would invade as I'm just like walking my dog or whatever. So I'm like, you know what? God damn it. Like, I have to write this now. Yeah. And now I'm like 65,000 words into it. And then like, you know, I don't know. Like, wait, what was the question? I don't even know. Like, that's how disorganized I am. Is like I'll leave a whole project because I feel like I have to start this other one. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I have these like short stories that take place in the world of Dadirri, but in a certain portion of the book. Mm-hmm. And I think about it pretty frequently, but I'm writing the other stuff first, and then I have another project that's a nonfiction that I'm writing, and I have done like very, very little in it as well.
What's the nonfiction, if you don't mind me interrupting?
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's a story of me and my family and my wife and I and our children as we were foster parents. So we were foster parents for 4 years. We had 25 or 30 kids come through our home, and so there's stories about that.
God bless you, by the way, just for that. Honestly,
it's mostly to like, some of it's for me to process, but it's also some to shed light on the fact that like fostering is really hard, no matter if you're good at it or not.
Oh yeah.
And you'll have kids that are easy and kids that are hard and kids that you like and kids that you don't like, and all of it is okay. And just trying to kind of like humanize that, because most of the time whenever people hear about foster kids, immediately there's this like, oh, you're that type of kid, or you know, whatever. And I mean, we went in our first, that was us before we were foster parents, and then I wanted to kind of like, because my wife and I talked about being foster parents even before we were married. We've been together for 24 years now. Mm-hmm. And so it's like we knew what we were going to get into, but I like kind of the contrast of us dating and how we handle our foster kids. And so jumping forward and backward in time to be like, you know, this is how we met, this is what we talked about, and then here's a story of one of the kids that we had. Of course, names changed and everything, but here's the story, and here's how it affected our other children, and here's what adopting looked like, and here's how it affected this, and this was the conversation way back when. And so yeah, it's fun, but but again, it's like another project that's just kind of sitting there twiddling its thumbs.
When you said nonfiction, I was thinking like, okay, this dude is doing some research on la la la, but no, it's more like a memoir, which and like, all right, two things. Number one, as a special education teacher, we get foster kids transferred into our school, coming from all different places. So like, I can't speak to like your angle of it, but like, man, I'm aware, and like, honestly, like, bless you for what you do. Thanks, you know what I mean? Like, some of these kids need emergency attention, and it's just like such a noble thing. Number two, I was like, oh yeah, I remember number two is in our co-taught English classroom, we have this unit we call like choice novels. Of course, we like junior year of English, we study like rhetorical analysis, usually like really dry stuff, like what's the author's purpose or whatever.
Right.
But we have this one unit choice. We say novels, but they're not really novels. They're memoir nonfiction. And I can just imagine if you finish that project, I will go to my school English department. I'll be like, guys, this is like, kids will want to read this. You know what I mean? And I'm dead serious. Like, that sounds like fascinating. Like it would
Mm.
fit right into the curriculum. Like we do things like I don't know, what's an example. There's this book called like Blood, about like a girl who witnesses her father kill her mother and then kill himself.
Wow.
And like it's her story of like dealing with that trauma.
Yeah.
There's like just I can't think of anything right now off the top of my head. It was a while ago, but
Yeah.
anyway, those were the two things. Number one, bless you, and number two, like that book has a home.
Okay.
Like people need to read that.
I'll it is I've got a friend that texts me about once a month and is like, hey, how's that book coming? And it hasn't moved in about 6 months, but it's one that I feel like, you know, like I love my sci-fi stories and I love making those connections of like, here's the husband and wife and I want you to feel what they feel.
Yeah.
But this foster care book, it's called Home is Where the Hurt is really about changing who we are, because we take a real look at the ugliness around us.
Yes.
About abusive homes and about kids that are difficult because of where they've come from, and about parents who should be doing better but can't because they weren't equipped like we are. You know, like white middle class, grew up in a very stable environment. My toolbox is chock full of really good things that I can use. Yeah. Whereas someone else, they might have no tools. And so it's understanding our limitations and our privileges while also recognizing this, like lots of kids come into our home and they don't need a dad. That some of the littler ones do, but once they get 13, 14, 15, they don't need a dad. They need somebody who's like, hey, I care for you because you exist, not because of either what you can provide for me or what you don't do for me, or, you know, whatever. Yeah. And it's kind of one of those books that's like, the world needs to hear this. I mean, that's how I feel about it, you know?
I was going to say the world needs that book, because I'm just thinking of like all the bad stuff going on that's leaving generational trauma.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? You'd think that in the year 2025, people would have it figured out by now, like how to support people in need and all that. But I think things are going on in this country and then around the world, in fact, where like these things are only going to become more prominent. Unfortunately, they should be going away. But anyway, I don't want to get political or whatever, you know, but
it's a part of our lives, right?
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, okay, that's kind of a downer. No.
So, all right. Well, let's look. All right, what's your favorite underappreciated book or series?
Okay, so I was thinking about this for the longest time, and honestly, maybe I'm boring, but I read a lot of kind of like mainstream, or like I go to Barnes and Noble and get ideas for what I want to read next. So
yeah,
but there was another local author. His name is Tim Akers. He lives like in my area. We sort of are two ships passing the night. He's a fantasy writer. I follow him on Facebook. We kind of chat every now and then. And he suggested this one series called, I don't know the series name, but the first book is called Hand of the Sun King. And it's by a guy.
I've heard of that.
Okay. So maybe it's not underappreciated. I don't know. But it's by J.T. Greathouse. It's so cool. It's like, it's got this crazy, awesome magic system where all the people, it's fantasy, like high fantasy, but it's set in like ancient China and like the Orient. So there's like a Tibet nation, there's like a China nation, whatever. But the magic system is cool. Like all of the gods, like basically cut off magic from humanity because they were fearing like a war that was going to destroy all of existence.
Naturally.
But then there's like, whoa, there goes my cat. There's like witches and warlocks that have made pacts with the gods to like, you know, gain power. But one of them, he has like magic that has like transmission. So he can like basically telepathy. He's almost like Professor X with the Cerebro on. That's like his magic power. And through that, he started conquering other nations. And like through the power of his thoughts, he's gaining their powers. He's taking all of them, like fire magic, lightning magic, like whatever. And then he has like what he calls his hands and his voices. And he's become like this emperor. And he's like, you know, creeping across the whole world, trying to conquer the whole world. And the book is really about like the rebellion. Like the main character is from one of these. He's from like the fire wielder nation and stuff like that. And I don't know. I could talk about this book all day. It's called The Hand of the Sun King. I think the series might be called Pact and Pattern.
Okay.
That might be it. It's so good. And if you've heard of it, like, yeah, you should check it out at some point.
I actually pulled it up on my Audible. I've got a credit, so I might as well snag it.
Dude, it's so cool. Like the way that the first book ends is like exhilarating. Like action is so cool.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
And the way Greathouse writes, like his, you know, like again, I think I said earlier, I don't want to compare myself to other writers, but like, damn, I wish I could write like this guy. The way he puts his sentences together are so freaking beautiful.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah. I love reading someone and thinking, I wish I could write this clearly or this well or whatever, you know.
But then, of course, you always got to go back and remember that, like, no, you got your own voice and you're badass too in your own way. Yeah. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Yeah, I know. Man,
what about you? What would you suggest I read next too?
I stumbled upon this series called the Adam Binder novels.
The Adam Binder?
The first one's called White Trash Warlock. It's about this guy who's like grew up in a trailer park and he has magic, and his story is like, I mean, you know, gods and elves and like all this crazy stuff, but it's pretty funny. It's a little bit dark. It's got LGBTQ characters in it. Like I listened to it on the way on a vacation one time while we were driving to Alabama, and like laughed a lot. It's funny enough that it doesn't take itself too seriously, but then there's those parts that are like, holy crap, this is a big deal. It's so much fun to read. Yeah, it's so fun. And so that's one that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, but is a really good time reading. I like it a lot.
I'm like reading the reading the synopsis too.
Oh yeah, it's good.
A murderous spirit possesses Bobby's wife and disrupts the perfect life he's built away from Oklahoma. I don't know.
It's great. It's so great. Yeah, it's a good one.
Well, first on my list of like things I need to read, I'm finished. I'm getting on a plane and I'm going to go to Japan for 3 weeks pretty soon.
Oh, nice.
So I've got Pact and Pattern number 2, and then maybe I'll do number 3. But I'm going to read your book next, and then I might check these out too at some point.
All right. Okay, so but what should I read first? You've got this fantasy series, and then you've got the Cyberpunk Samurais. Which one would you recommend?
Well, I mean, you got to check out my Cyberpunk Samurai book. No.
Okay, all right. Give me the name again.
Honestly, like, I don't know. Either one. Whatever you're in the mood for. If you're in the mood for Cyberpunk, then, you know, read my book. I think the world needs more Cyberpunk. I think it's like, it's not a very big, prominent genre. But then if you want like a high fantasy, then go for the Great House book for sure.
Okay. Well, I'm actually going to Ireland with my 16-year-old for a choir trip. And it's a very long flight, so I'm going to need something to read.
Yep. Okay. I'm honestly, after we get off this call, I'm going to go buy the bench, like right away.
Sweet, so dude, that's awesome.
I want it by my bedside table.
Well,
I was going to ask the next question.
All right. I've got 4 minutes because the Ireland trip meeting is tonight. It got moved from last night because of the tornado.
Quick. So. If you were going to be dropped into a sci-fi world, what would it be?
Ooh, I think I would like the dark matter world because you could kind of go wherever you want and be whoever you want. Blake Crouch, that's like multiverse kind of stuff. You go in this box and then you imagine where you want to be, and then you open a door and there you are. It's pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Shoot, I was just thinking something boring like Star Wars or whatever. Like,
I mean, don't get me wrong. There are definitely problems with this world, but if I like on a dime had to do it, that's what I thought.
Actually, that doesn't sound so bad. For me, it was a toss up. I'm like, I could do a Studio Ghibli, like The Wizard of Earthsea when they did that book series or whatever. There was a sweet movie. I'm like, that looks peaceful and nice. But then I'm like, yeah, but Star Wars.
Yeah, right. I mean, like, yeah, but we would just be people on Coruscant or friggin' Tatooine, you know?
I know.
Everybody. I wouldn't have a lightsaber. I'd get shot by a stormtrooper.
I'm thinking, like, if you've been watching Andor, have you seen Andor at all?
Okay, I loved season 1, and I started season 2 just a couple days ago, but I have not finished.
Okay, me neither. I'm only on episode 5, so I won't say anything. Okay. But like, to your point, watching Andor is like, dude, the Imperials are just freaking nasty. they're awful people. And you're
Yeah.
right. We would be shot or like worse, right? Like,
Yes.
so forget
We
Star
would be.
Wars. I'll just live in Studio Ghibli land.
There you go. I mean, what
Yeah.
a great life, you know? Jeez. Everybody's dream.
What is, all right, wait, real quick. What was
Yeah,
that
yeah.
like book series where you go into a box and imagine where you want to be? What?
So
What's
it's Blake Crouch, Dark Matter. He's got a couple of books out there. He's got some good stuff, but Blake Crouch, Dark Matter.
Okay.
So it's a
Oh,
cool
I've seen
book.
this cover, dude. I've seen this cover. Yeah.
It's a show on Apple TV, I think now. It came
Okay.
out last year.
Dude, too many shows to watch.
I know. The show's pretty true to the series, to the book, which I appreciated, but it's wild. It's cool.
Okay. Well, I got quite the reading list now after this, and you got to go to check out the Ireland trip or something.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Okay. So, Ty Carlson, Dadirri Saga. Happy to always chat about it anytime. Shoot me a text message or something. We'll stay connected.
Honestly, dude, I'll do this again. I don't want to do it with anybody else but you.
Yes. All right, Chelsea, you hear that? It's just me and Joe from now on.
All right, Ty Carlson signing off. I'm Joe Asphahani, author of The White Shadow. All right.
All right. Bye, guys.
3, 2, 1, go.